Welcome back to Great Day Washington. In the current issue of National Geographic Traveler, a young northerner travels to the South for the first time to explore the Civil Rights Trail.
And what she discovers reveals some truth about her family history and the nation's painful past in regard to race relations. Glynn Pogue is the writer behind the article, Southern Roots, and joins us now with more. Welcome to Great Day, Glynn.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Now, it's so fascinating that National Geographic, this institution who's known for exploring unknown parts of the world,
right,
decides to venture within our country. What made you decide to go to the South and document your experience?
Yeah, so I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I've not really spent much time in the South. The furthest I've gone is New Orleans, which people tell me nonstop is not really the South.
The South.
Yeah, so going to the Deep South felt like sort of a voyage into my family's history, like a way that I could connect with a part of Black American culture specifically via food and stories and history, and I wanted to be there to experience it on the ground. Also, because I'm from Brooklyn, I cannot drive, so I brought my dad along, and it became this really amazing father-daughter road trip, which made it even more special. Yeah.
Now, you went along the U.S. Civil Rights Trail. Was
Yes.
that kind of a good way to really explore because I think that's fairly new, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the U.S. Civil Rights Trail, it's growing and expanding as the days go on. It's a nationwide trail that encompasses a lot of different important sites throughout history. So there's the churches where activists went and organized to march from Selma to Montgomery. Those churches are on the trail. Where Martin Luther King ministered over, those churches are on the trail. There's so many different places, and that's what's really interesting too, the ways that places that you wouldn't expect, maybe a restaurant where people took meetings, that could be on the trail. These are places where history was actively made, and you can experience that all throughout the country. I specifically chose Alabama because it's sort of the hotbed of the civil rights movement. Birmingham was called Bombingham for all of the bombs that were set off there. There's so much really rich history, really painful history in Alabama that really sparked a lot of the change in this country. So I thought it was important to go there.
Start there.
Yeah.
You mentioned in the article you learned a lot about your family history, and not having ever ventured through Alabama, things were familiar to you.
Yeah.
In what way?
Yeah, again, being from the North, it's really interesting. Being from New York City, I would say that the Black experience there is very diasporic. So my friends were from the Caribbean or were first generation from West Africa. So I had all of these interactions with a lot of different parts of Blackness, but specifically like Black American identity. I felt like that was rich and true in the South. And there were things like my family's actually from DC. So on holidays, I'm eating like collard greens and mac and cheese. And I write in the piece that I know to put like a little vinegar on my greens or a little hot sauce on my mac and cheese, or there's like these little cultural nuances that I've always practiced.
It's so funny. You mentioned getting a fried fish sandwich made with whiting, and the way you described making the sandwich, I was relating to, because my family's from Alabama, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's certain ways we eat and how we dress our food that is cultural, and you don't necessarily pinpoint where that came from.
You don't even put those connections there, but there would be moments when I would watch the way women would use their hands or certain mannerisms, and it would remind me so deeply of women in my own family, and it felt really beautiful to be able to anchor these experiences in a larger framework. I felt so much recognition during that trip, and that's another part of the story. We were following in some ways the Green Book and the Green Guide, and stopping by some of these restaurants that are no longer there. But I started to think about what it would feel like to be traveling during the Civil Rights era, where it would have been unsafe to be on the road, and that was really striking while thinking about being in the car with my father, that if we would have been doing this some decades ago, it would not have been the same. But I was very aware of where I felt safe, where I felt seen, where I felt like I could recognize myself and other people. And it happened throughout the whole experience, and it was really affirming and beautiful.
Had to be such a wonderful but emotional journey.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing the story with
Thank
us.
You for having
Glynn,
me.
I'm so excited to share this with people at home, and if you want to read the full story of Glynn's eye-opening road trip along the Civil Rights Trail, it's in the current issue of National Geographic Traveler. Go pick it up at newsstands.